friend asked me a question a few days ago. She just got a cat 3 months ago. She said to me, "I'm honestly a little jealous of you." I said, "Jealous of what?" She said, "You have a dog, so you have to go out every day. I have a cat. I don't have to do anything. I come home and just lie down. It is the best thing ever." I laughed and said, "Yeah, that does sound pretty nice." But on my way home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why is that? Why does it work that way? We both have pets. Her cat, my dog, both are mammals. Both are animals humans have lived with for thousands of years. So why does she get to come home and collapse on the couch? And why do I have to put my jacket back on and go outside? The more I thought about it, the weirder it got. Because if you actually look at it, almost every common pet in the world doesn't need this. Cats don't need walks. Rabbits don't need walks. Hamsters don't need walks. Chinchillas, hedgehogs, goldfish, turtles, parrots, none of them. Only dogs. And it is not like, oh, walk them once and you're done. It is every day, at least once, twice if you're doing it right. Rain, snow, exhaustion doesn't matter. You're sick, you still go. You're working late, you still go. You're heartbroken, you're tired, you want to disappear into the floor. You still go. The entire human race has just quietly accepted this for thousands of years. And nobody really stops to ask why. So I started looking into it. I thought the answer would be obvious. Exercise, bathroom, burning off energy. But the more I read, the more those answers stopped making sense. Because here is the thing that doesn't fit. You can put a dog in a huge backyard, let them run for a whole afternoon, and they will come back inside, restless, still pacing, still chewing things, still standing at the front door looking miserable. But take them out on the leash for 20 minutes around the block, and they come home calm, satisfied, and they fall asleep on the floor. 20 minutes outside the gate beats an entire day inside the gate. That doesn't make any sense. Unless there is something out there that isn't in the yard. Something that, for your dog, is the actual reason they're alive. I figured out what it is. And after I figured it out, I started looking at my own dog differently. I started looking at the leash differently. By the end of this video, you will too. You take your dog for a walk every single day. Sometimes, twice. You've done it through rain, snow, exhaustion, and the kind of cold that makes you question your life choices. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? Why does this one animal out of every animal humans have ever domesticated require something no other pet does? Cats don't need walks. Rabbits don't need walks. Hamsters, guinea pigs, fish, birds, none of them require their humans to step outside twice a day for the rest of their lives. Only dogs. What if I told you the reason isn't about exercise? It isn't about bathroom needs. It isn't about boredom. The real reason your dog needs to be walked every day is buried so deep in their biology that most owners spend their entire lives walking their dog without ever understanding what the walk actually is. Welcome to Canine Decode. Subscribe right now, because what you're about to learn will completely change the meaning of one of the most repetitive rituals in your life with your dog. And once you understand what is actually happening on that walk, you will never see those 30 minutes the same way again. Let's start with what everyone assumes. Dogs need walks because they need exercise. This is the standard explanation, and it is true. But it is also the smallest, most superficial part of the truth. Because if exercise were the only reason, then a fenced backyard would be enough. A dog could simply run around in a contained outdoor space for 30 minutes a day, and the requirement would be satisfied. Every owner who has tried this knows it doesn't work. A dog who runs in a backyard for an hour is still restless, still anxious, still pacing at the front door. Something is missing. And what is missing is what every other animal in your house doesn't need: information. To understand this, you have to understand something about how dogs experience the world. Your dog does not primarily live in a visual world the way you do. Your dog lives in an olfactory world, a world made of scent. The part of your dog's brain devoted to processing smell is proportionally about 40 times larger than the corresponding region in your brain. Dogs perceive between 10,000 and 100,000 more scent information per second than humans do. And here is the part that changes everything. Smell, for dogs, is not just sensory experience. It is time travel. It is news. It is the daily newspaper of their species. A single tree on a walking route holds, for your dog, the equivalent of a complete social network. Which dogs have passed by recently, what sex they were, what age, what health status, whether they were stressed, in heat, recently fed, recently sick, how long ago they were there, where they were going. A single sniff at a single fire hydrant gives your dog more information about their local community than a human gets from scrolling social media for an hour. This is why backyards don't work. The backyard is your dog's environment. The scent profile in a backyard is static, familiar, exhausted. It is the equivalent of you reading the same single page of the same magazine for years. The neighborhood walk is the opposite. Every walk is a fresh addition. New scents have been deposited overnight. Old scents have faded. Other dogs have moved through. Weather, time, season, and traffic have all shifted the chemical landscape. For your dog, the walk is not exercise. The walk is information. The walk is the daily download. And without it, the dog is sensory starved in a way that no amount of physical exertion can fix. Here is the science that confirms this is not interpretation. A 2020 study published in the journal Animal Cognition examined the cognitive benefits of olfactory exploration in dogs. The researchers compared dogs allowed to engage in nose-led free exploration during walks against dogs walked on tight leashes that prevented sniffing. The results were striking. Dogs given olfactory freedom showed measurable increases in optimism, lower cortisol levels, and dramatically better emotional regulation throughout the rest of the day. The dogs who couldn't sniff were physically exercised but emotionally undernourished. The dogs who got to sniff returned home calmer, more satisfied, and more cognitively settled. Researchers in canine cognitive science have started referring to this as nose work, and it is now recognized as one of the most powerful forms of mental enrichment available to dogs. The walk is not just a physical activity. The walk is your dog's primary cognitive workout. It is the equivalent of reading, thinking, and socializing all at once. Now we can answer the original question. Why does no other pet need this? And the answer is rooted in a deep evolutionary difference. Cats are solitary hunters. Their evolutionary niche is centered on territory defense, not territory exploration. A cat's environment is meant to be familiar, controlled, and consistent. A wild cat patrols a fixed territory, knows every rock and tree, and finds safety in repetition. This is why indoor cats can be perfectly content in a fixed apartment for their entire lives. Their nervous system is wired for static environments. Rabbits, hamsters, and other small mammals are prey animals. Their evolutionary strategy is to find a safe location and stay there. Movement, for them, is associated with danger, not enrichment. A rabbit that explores too much in the wild dies young. Fish and birds live within highly constrained sensory worlds, and their cognitive requirements are met by far less variation. Dogs are completely different. Dogs descended from wolves, and wolves are among the most cognitively complex social predators on Earth. A wolf pack covers an average daily territory of 15 to 30 miles, not because they are hunting that entire range every day, but because patrolling, marking, monitoring, and updating territorial information is the foundational cognitive task of their species. Wolves are, by every measure of their behavior in the wild, animals that need to move through space, acquiring information and updating their mental map of the environment continuously. That neurological requirement did not disappear with domestication. It was inherited completely, intact, by every dog alive today. Your dog, no matter their breed, size, or temperament, carries a wolf's daily information requirement, and the walk is the only way modern life provides for it to be satisfied. There is a second layer to this that explains some of the patterns owners find confusing. Why does a dog who skipped a walk become destructive at home? Why does a dog with sufficient backyard exercise still chew furniture, bark excessively, or pace? Why do walks seem to reset behavior problems in ways nothing else does? The answer is that the unmet need is not physical, it is cognitive. A dog without daily information input is a dog whose nervous system has nothing to process. The destructive behaviors you see at home are not bad behavior. They are the visible symptoms of a brain that needs more input than the environment is providing. A bored cat sleeps. A bored dog finds a way to generate cognitive stimulation themselves, often by tearing apart something interesting. Veterinary behaviorists have long observed that dogs walked twice daily with full sniff freedom show significantly fewer behavioral problems than dogs walked for the same total duration with no sniffing allowed. The total time is not the variable. The information acquired is. Here is what makes this so quietly profound. When you walk your dog every day, you are not just maintaining their health. You are providing the daily input their brain was evolutionarily designed to require. You are letting them read the local news, check on their neighbors, update their mental map of the world, and process the day's events. The walk is not a chore. The walk is your dog's brain, functioning the way it was meant to function. This is also why dogs love walks with an intensity that can seem disproportionate. Why the word walk, the sight of a leash, the sound of a doorknob being turned, can trigger explosions of joy. It is not because the walk is fun. It is because the walk is the moment their full cognitive capacity comes online. For the rest of the day, your dog operates in a sensory environment that is dramatically smaller than what their brain was built for. The walk is the only time their brain gets to run at full processing speed. There is one more thing about walks that almost no owner has been told. The pace of the walk matters. A walk where the dog is rushed, kept on a tight leash, and prevented from stopping is, in cognitive terms, the equivalent of being dragged through a library, past every book you wanted to read. The information is there, but it cannot be processed. A walk where the dog is allowed to stop, sniff, linger, and choose their own pace is what behaviorists call a sniffari. The term is half joke, half technical, and sniffaris have been documented to produce significantly better cognitive outcomes than fast-paced walks. A 30-minute sniffari can leave a dog more mentally satisfied than a 60-minute power walk, because the satisfaction is not in the distance covered. It is in the information acquired. So what do you do with this? The first thing is to stop measuring walks by duration alone. Ask yourself, did my dog get to read the world today? Did they sniff freely? Did they choose their own pace at least part of the way? The second thing is to allow more stops than you currently do. A dog standing still at a tree, sniffing for 45 seconds, is not wasting your time. They are processing. That standing still moment is in their brain, the equivalent of reading a paragraph. Let them finish the paragraph. The third thing is to recognize what you are actually doing every time you put on the leash. You are not just exercising an animal. You are giving them access to the world their brain was built to live in. You are translating their evolutionary requirements into the practical structure of modern life. You are the bridge between a wolf-built nervous system and a domesticated daily routine. That is what the leash is for. The deeper truth is this. Your dog is the only animal in your home whose brain is built for movement through unfamiliar information. Cats inherited stillness. Rabbits inherited hiding. Dogs inherited the wolf's long daily patrol. You did not create that requirement. You inherited it the day you brought a dog into your life. And the walk, that small, repetitive, daily ritual, is one of the most important things you do for them. Now, you can see it. And once you do, you will never look at a leash the same way again. If this changed the way you understand your dog, share it with one person who walks their dog every day and has never thought about why. Subscribe to Canine Decode. Every week we decode the signals your dog has been sending. Since the day they came home, they've been speaking. It is time you finally learned to listen.